Yeah. Hi, Shelly Shell Williams, DJ Kid Disco. And today we have a new friend, Augustin Garibaldi. He is joining us today, and we're very excited to hear his story. But before we go there, we're going to go on and pay some bills, do our commercials, and we'll be right back.
It's the Ppc Radio Show.
Oh my God! I have to
Hosted by
stop this.
Cinda Williams, co-hosted by Shelly Shell Williams. Music by DJ Kid Disco on the Grown Folks Radio. Yo. WGFB-FM Radio. So are you ready? Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Oh my God! They have to stop.
After these messages, we'll be right back. The COVID
Disco.
Cinda Williams here, and welcome to the Grown Folks Radio World. Wednesday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern, I host the PPC Radio Show with Shelly Shell Williams.
Hey everybody, it's Shell Williams, Philly's Oprah.
We got some important stuff to talk about.
Fridays at noon Eastern, I present the PPC Podcast. It drops on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and many more. Please join me for real talk, great guests, lots of laughs, and powerful, precious conversations that can fill your self-help treasure chest with gems.
Listen, you only think you know Cinda Williams, co-host of the PPC Radio Show and the Melanated Morning Show. You've seen her in films with some of the GOATs. You may have even heard her sing her way to the top. You don't have to judge the book by its cover. You can get the book and read it cover to cover. I'm talking about Pink Panty Confessions by Cinda Williams, available in paperback and digital format in all good bookstores. I would probably look in Amazon.
Pink Panty Confessions, the book.
The COVID-19 vaccines can be our chance to get back to our plans.
This is too
Who
cool.
we are, what we miss, to get back to each other, to life. But it's okay to have questions, like, how were the vaccines tested? In rigorous clinical trials among adults of diverse backgrounds. Can the vaccines give you COVID-19? You cannot get COVID-19 from a vaccine. Why should I get vaccinated? Protecting yourself also helps protect the people around you.
All right.
Find the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org.
Hey everybody, it is Shelly Shell Williams.
Hi, this is Cinda Williams, and I am so blessed to tell you about a new book on survival called Faith, Failure, Success, Volume 2, Surviving the Storm. Erica Summers, Martha Chavez, Latricia Rice, Nicole Reed, Vanya Hudson, and I have come together to share our deepest challenges and how we overcame. Please check it out on Amazon.com and wherever books are sold.
Amazon is hiring near you. Earn a competitive wage and start as soon as 7 days. No resume or experience required. Health and safety are a top priority with all of Amazon's roles and sites. Amazon is taking precautions in their buildings to keep people healthy. Go to Amazon.com/apply. That's Amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
WGFB-FM Radio. So are you ready? Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
This is
PPC, yeah. PPC, yeah. Join me so we can grow together. Conversation, get that healing. Let them know what they're missing. Share with your best friend. Tell them come hear this, yeah. Don't you dare miss your blessing. These powerful lessons, true confession.
Yeah. Welcome to the PPC Radio Show. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Aunt Spring. My Aunt Spring's here. Hey.
Hello.
Ramon. Hey. Vaughn, I'm sorry, Vaughn Sincere.
Vaughn's in the
Sincere.
house.
Vaughn.
Yes, indeed.
And James, I think, is here. Hi. Welcome. Okay. So let's dig on in because an hour goes so fast.
Exactly.
So, Augustine, we have our beginning segment. Then we talk about you, and then we have our end segment. I hope our friend, Mr. DJ Kid Disco, is ready for that.
Oh, he's gonna be ready for this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, Shelly, take it away.
All right. Now this time, you gotta be ready. You ready, Mr. Augustine?
I'm working. I'm ready. I'm there.
You there? All right. So this is the true confession time, where you have to share a true confession, and we have to follow suit. So dig deep. You don't have to be all that deep. It could be something funny, but dig deep and give us a true confession. Something good, something juicy. Give us something juicy.
Oh my God. Oh man, so many stories I can tell.
Oh.
Yeah.
I figured you had some.
Let me tell you this. I'll give y'all a celebrity encounter, if that's okay. But I'll tell you what, I'll deal with that later. Here's something that I've never, ever told anyone except for one person. And this was the person that I told was a production assistant, if you will, and one of my liaisons when I was early in my career, right? Back, I would say this is probably, I told her this in maybe 06, 07, after Katrina, around that time. But it happened in the early 90s when I was taking theater classes and workshops, which was the beginning of my quote unquote amateur professional acting career, right? So I'm taking theater classes and these workshops on Wednesday nights for like 2 hours and 45 minutes at Delgado Community College. And I bypassed hanging out with my boys and decided to take my passion and gift seriously. So they supported me with it. Long story short, I started taking these classes and eventually I became like my teacher's star student. So we had a show to do and it was Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Okay. Of all of the students, and mind you, I was probably the oldest or the eldest student in this class. They were young college students. By this time, I'm already in close to my mid-20s, right? So out of all of the girls, I wound up earning the role of Goldilocks. And that is a true story. That's a very, very true confession. And again, it's never been made public until now. And Karen Pritchard, that's my production assistant. That was my girl, my ace from when I started at Access Television in New Orleans, NOA TV. I started working with her and formed an all-female crew. And she designated everything for me. She was like my go-to, my right-hand person, right? And she's the only person that knows this. Her name is Karen Pritchard. She can attest to this. So Karen is the cat out of the bag.
How did you look?
No, let me tell you. This was my only, to answer that's a great question because this was my only thing. I would not dress up as a girl. I would be as a man and did it. I did not put the wig on. I did it. And that was my stipulation in that deal, to make it different. You know, to put my creative twist on it. So I didn't do the Goldilocks thing. I did it from a male's perspective. So that kind of got the attention of some people. And that's my true confession. Following that. Yeah, go on, I'm sorry.
No, that's
all right. So how do we follow that? All right, go ahead, Cinda. How do you follow that?
The only thing I had that's at all anyway similar to that is after, One False Move, Mo Better Blues, I auditioned for. After that, almost everything was an offer. And since has been, that's why I haven't been so many great movies. I've done a lot of independent films where I just got offered it, which I'm very thankful for because I don't love auditioning. And anyway, there was a movie that my agent called me for and said, I want you to audition for this role. And they sent me the sides and the script. And I read the script. And the character that they were talking about me for was so specific in the details of how they wrote about this character. I could tell that it was a real person that this writer included in his storytelling because no other character was that well drawn out. And it wasn't even a lead role. This is how the explanation of her, she looks like a Renaissance painting. Redhead, freckles on her face, alabaster skin, very, very specific. And I argued with my agent. I was like, they are not looking for me for this role. They are not looking for me. They're looking for some white, pretty, what's that chick's name? Nicole Kidman type. I'm not the one, right? And they were like, look, it's a decent movie. It was a big movie at the time. And it's like, look, do it. Just try it. So I did, and I had an attitude. I really did. I had an attitude going into the room because I was like, this is such a waste of my freaking time. But I did it, and I got it. I got the role, and I was like totally flabbergasted, but it opened my mind because I was like, so I can do this. If I read something and the role isn't necessarily perfect for me, unless it has to do with, the part has to do with a white girl, or the part has to do with a female, or the part or male or whatever, I can go for it. And so I started doing that. From that point on, is like, what you got? What do the roles look like? Can you send? I don't care if it's a man. It doesn't have to be a man. Send me in for that. You know what I'm saying? And it hasn't worked as often as I like, but it's worked a couple of times where I got roles that were not written for someone like me. And you can be very impressive if you can pull things like that off. Although, I just made this woman about me. I mean, I'm telling you, my hair was like super short. I was totally Afrocentric. It was nothing like they wrote for this character, but it ended up working out. So right. I guess that's the closest to it.
Is that when
it's
you
not
had the
funny, though. It's not as funny as
Goldilocks. It's not as funny as Goldilocks. Let me think.
So
I haven't gone out. Well, anything. Let me see.
Go ahead.
What roles? I haven't done any roles. I mean, yeah.
Well, I don't think anything that would have stereotypically looked better on someone else. Like you got a job doing something that the expectation would be for it to be a different type of person.
Yeah.
My whole life. Listen, my whole life is not what it was, what the typical people who in this role being on TV have never looked like what they said was supposed to be on TV. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we were doing it, they were like, well, you can't host the show because you don't have the body type and you don't have this. And I was like, oh, I guess I can. I believed them and then didn't do it. So, and here we are today. But yeah, that's all I got. I have not played a man's character, but I think I could. I think I could do that very well.
These days, anything is accepted.
Yo, what up? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna play Disco.
That's still a good story.
Disco, I'm sorry. Come on, Poppy Fields and Seeds. I
got nothing.
You got nothing?
I got nothing on the subject. I'm not even gonna say in front.
I never, right?
I have one for you. That Ooh. I know about you. You never expected to be doing talk radio. That was a different role for you. You thought you were just going to be doing just music DJing and production, but you never thought that you would have a role doing talk radio on news stuff.
Here's the funny story about that. In all actuality, that's Shelly's fault.
Mm-hmm. It's her fault. She did it.
I started doing interviews on the set of Urban Expressions.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll push you to do something then. I might not push myself as hard as I'm gonna push somebody else. Hey, I'll push.
That's your gift, pushing people.
Pushing people. Listen, you got it, because I believe it. I see the talent in so many people. Like if somebody could come to me and say, I see this in you, then I would believe them. But nobody comes up and says that. They don't push me like I push them. I will push you because I see it. I can see your talent. I can see what you have. Disco, when he's not in the poppy fields, I mean, when he is not in the poppy fields, he is very talkative, you know?
He has a great voice for radio, that's for sure.
He does have a great voice.
You have the DJ
But now
voice.
he's just chilling with the flying monkeys, and he getting ready to go to the Emerald City and see the Wiz.
Vince said, Shelly, you cannot play a man's role, but you do look good for hosting and being on TV.
Oh, shucks, thank you. Thanks so much.
I concur.
Yeah.
I have a question though. Is everybody like in different cities? Or like, I know, I learned that Shelly's in Philly. Is DJ Disco, where are you located?
He's in Pennsylvania too.
Okay.
He is born and raised in Philadelphia, in the uptown section of Philadelphia. And now we're in the PA, we're in PA part, like we're in the suburbs now.
Okay.
Quiet as it's kept, we in the suburbs now.
Yeah, moved on up, huh?
I thought we did.
I'm all over the place. I'm literally at a different location all the time. I don't announce where I am, but I'm all over the place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. Well,
All
at
right,
least you have,
Augustine.
yes.
Time to get into you. Time to get into you. We got a few minutes before we go to break. You came with a whole bunch of personal stories that were very heart-wrenching and actually, I'm sure those people that listen to the podcast found some hope in your tale. So why don't you kind of give us a summary of who you are, what you do, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Well, my name is Augustine Jude Garibaldi. I'm a native New Orleanian most of my adult life. Minneapolis, where I am currently living now, has always been a second home to myself and my family. We have many relatives out here between Minneapolis and LA. I did spend more time coming to Minneapolis than Los Angeles though. But as a child, my family experienced the back and forth, whether it was West Coast or up north. So, which brings me to what I do for a living, perhaps, or my career as a independent, let's say, ambitious independent filmmaker. Started very long ago. Worked up the ranks to writing. Creativity came naturally, if that makes any sense to the creatives out there. But when it leaves you, it leaves you. It's kind of like that writer's block thing. But it never leaves for long, you know, and when it comes strong. Technically, I'm literally in Minneapolis because of a personal family matter. My mom is stricken with dementia and Alzheimer's. So that's what brought me here in 2015. Prior to that, my journey was, I traveled much, studying and learning the craft, honing my craft. Started out in Washington, D.C. is where I built my professional in front of the camera resume, if you will. Was doing commercial work, voiceover work, you know the routine. Moved to New York City, as well as Chicago. Bumped into a writing partner there. His name is Gerald Lott. That was in the mid-90s when we started that collaboration. And then things, just gradually took me to working in front of the camera and then behind the camera. So it's a little bit of everything per se.
Mm-hmm. So when people say filmmaker, a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of different mediums that you can do as a filmmaker. So what has been your primary genre? What have you done for the most part?
This is the thing. As a filmmaker, I've written tons of stories, as you know. You've seen a few. But I've never produced a feature film. Though I produce tons of music videos. That's where our career started, technically, my uncle and I. And that's our claim to fame. Then it moved to, we would record and produce live events. We would produce fundraising events. I would host, we would film it. It moved to concepts for television shows, theatrical plays, and things of that nature. So it's just been a lot of different types of production, minus that one goal of producing my very first feature film, or even co-producing, I can say. Mm-hmm. So my area is, I love working with recording artists, especially young or early to the business recording artists that are influential, if you will, or a better term for that, are impressionable. I like to work with artists who know what they want.
So whose music videos did you do?
Well, we started with a group of guys out of New Orleans. They were working with a record label named Reckless Records. Now these guys are nothing shy of just a phenomenal group of talent. The lead producer and artist on that label's name was Joey, AKA Joey the Y. Prior to us working with him, he had gold record or two in the city. My uncle met these cats at a music conference. It turns out one of my other uncles, my uncle's brother, is married to this recording artist's aunt. So we learned that we're technically family at this music conference. It turns out the artist who my uncle was representing at the time didn't show up. So my uncle asked those group of guys if he could shoot video for him. Wind up doing it. We worked out a production deal, and we shot 2 videos for those guys, and that's what started it all. We produced videos, an extension of all the way through the genre of jazz music, the Marcellus family. We worked with the Neville brothers, the Neville family. Aaron Neville, of course. If you've ever heard of his music. We worked with several guys and young ladies, the Sharon Martins, all the way up to Akon, Common, Stephen Marley. We were in line to produce a documentary for the Marleys until a certain turn of events happened that prevented us from moving forward, which was basically caused by the death of my uncle, who was my partner. That kind of stopped most everything that we were doing. So it's a lot, man. But I'm back, and there's so much more to tell about the journey from my travels to back to New Orleans.
You think you'll go back there?
Well, one of my sisters asked me this question quite often. And I always say, I'd like to go back if that's going to be my place to be. But until God says otherwise with my life or my mom's, I'm in Minneapolis till death do us part, basically. So with that that's the main concern, right? And then there's everything that I'm intending to do, getting back into creative mode after, you know, several years in the hiatus of depression, if you will. And, you know, I've been back and forth, trying to do this, trying to do that. And that's there's something I want to answer a little more in depth that you asked in the podcast, and what I did to work through my depression.
But we didn't talk about the depression. How did you get to when did depression come in? I mean,
well, yeah, I'm speaking in terms of the podcast, and that's something we discussed.
Do you mind if we hold off on getting into that until after the break?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, kid, are you ready to give us a break now so we can just get it done?
But before we get into that next topic, are you the main caregiver for your mother?
For the most part, yes. Yes. And there's reasons for that as well. But I mean, if you want to talk about it in a moment, that's fine. Unless you want to go into it right now.
Let's get this break out of the way. Kid, can you do that?
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cinda Williams, co-hosted by Shelly Shell Williams. Music by DJ Kid Disco on the Grown Folks Radio. Yeah. WGFB FM Radio. So are you ready? How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Okay, so we can talk a little bit.
Yes.
Facebook can hear us. The radio can't because they're still on the commercials. But when we hear them come back in, then we'll be quiet so we can, you know, come back in.
Okay.
But so how long has your mom been had dementia? When did it started coming into play?
Well, from the best of my knowledge, how I remember things, I didn't find out until a little later in life. Even as an adult, I'm talking as far back as, let's see, 2022. I think she was experiencing this well before Hurricane Katrina. And in fact, I know once I started putting two and two together and how things worked out with her main source of employment back then. Mm-hmm. I have my own thoughts and theory, if you will. But there were some issues that I don't know. There's some things I don't know, and I don't want to speculate, you know, and air the laundry out, so to speak. So I won't say that. Though I just know at one point I remember my mom not being able to keep up as well as she did. Because my mom did everything. Like I was telling you previously, my mom did everything. And I know how she did it. I just don't know how she did it. You know, she worked 2 or 3 jobs. She went to night school, got a degree. You know what I mean? And this is when she was solo. My stepdad came in, you know, right around that night school time. But my mom was already doing all these things. So she found her way to a much better paying job, and they were able to buy her first home right into probably my freshman year of college back in 85, 86. So things were going okay, but I just know as time went on, she lost that job after, probably a couple of decades. She was with South Central Bell South, would merge and so forth, right? But my mom lost that job, and that was tough. Mm-hmm. She wound up having to do things that she really, I'm sure she didn't want to, but she had to make the ends meet. You know, and I didn't see a lot of this because I was out of the house at that time and doing my own thing and going through my own life. So I just hear certain things, but eventually I learned, you know, and so honestly, Cinda, I think it was probably, I would say more than 10, probably 15 years before I even moved up here. So It was on set. It was on set for a minute, you know.
That's early, very early.
You know, my mom probably, it might have hit her in her early 60s, if not at 60, maybe late 50s. You know, like I said, I don't know exactly. But once I started learning about this disease, if you will, is it
So are you ready?
talking?
How it used to be. Cinda for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Welcome back to the PPC Radio Show. And thank you for Shelly Shell, DJ Kid Disco, and Augustine Garibaldi for being with us. During the break, we were speaking a little bit about Augustine's experiences with his mom with, it sounds like pretty early onset dementia. I know that both of my parents had it. My grandparents had it. And
I'm sorry.
My mom was different than my dad. My mom's version of it is she just didn't know who we were for years. And part of it is the meningitis that she got and other things, but she didn't even recognize us. And every once in a while she would come through and recognize us. But my dad, he just would forget. Like he would tell the same stories over and over and over again, but he always remembered who we were for the most part until the very, very end. So I know how that can feel when someone that you've had such a close bond with or relationship with, all of a sudden they may or may not know your name. It's a whole different kind of loss than when they actually pass on. So since this is going on this long, and if you guys didn't hear the podcast, I know that you had an incident with a whole bunch of loss. You lost your uncle, you lost several very, very important people in your life. And you had a downturn when it comes to your feelings of rejection and depression. And so if you want to, Shelly asked about that, you want to get a little bit into that, and then we can talk about the more hopeful part of it and how you got out of it.
Right. Yeah, I did. And like, again, I have to remind myself to say some things that I did try to do to help me out of it. And hopefully it's working. However, let's say it started with just the sudden losses of my two close friends, my boy David and my other guy Kendall. Man, my dudes, man, we were brothers, you know. We still have some of our crew remaining, but those two were centers of the heartbeat of it all. They were like guys that they were outdoor guys. They were hunters. They were fishermen, naturals, born naturals. And I lost those two. I lost David. Well, let's say we, I'm gonna speak for everybody that is affected by this. We lost Dave in March of 2017, right after Mardi Gras, if not the same night, or if not the night after, going into the morning. Very unfortunate. He was murdered. And Kendall, 3 months later,
you're obviously still working through it.
Yeah, as I just thought about between David and Kendall fell Malcolm, which is my business guy. He was our executive producer partner. And then Kendall passed away June, let's see, it was 3. I'm sorry, David, Kendall, then Malcolm. 7 months later, January 2018, my uncle Alvin passes away. And that's still a mystery to me. Malcolm's death, I'm gonna tell you, Malcolm's death and my uncle's death is still a mystery to me. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I have questions. So, and I know I won't get an answer, so I'm gonna keep cool. But yes, that was devastating. And I'll tell you though, Cinda, man, I've done a few things to try to get through, lost my creative drive for a while. It was years. And I'm still dealing with it. You're correct, definitely. But it's just not as harsh. It's easier. my edges are a little smoother now, you know. I was very antisocial. I didn't visit people. I wasn't talking to people. I didn't care. I tried to do things, like I said, to keep myself in the game because this is what I love to do. This is the passion. And it just stopped. And I didn't, especially losing my creative guys, my uncle and Malcolm. That was the three-headed monster, you know, me, Uncle Al, and Malcolm. So when I lost those two, I just thought it was done. I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore. Long story short. But I never let go, man. I couldn't let go. I just had to be patient. I prayed a lot, you know, stayed prayed up. Stayed, and I'll tell you, hold up, let me show you something. I stayed in books like this. Jesus Calling, daily devotionals. Can you see that?
Yeah, we see it. Yeah.
Sarah Young. I'm on that daily, and a few other things, which help. You know, I know the trenches that God already pulled me through my entire life, and that started at 8 years old, watching my father drown. Moments before my daddy drowned, he taught me how to swim. So I had that one with me my entire life. So, I mean, I went through drug addiction, alcoholism for years, never let my creativity go, but that also held me with the crutch. That's another reason why things didn't flourish. I assume God knew I wasn't ready when these opportunities presented themselves. So I was tested and tested. And
you know, it reminds me of a story that I've heard a million times. I've read a bunch of times, but it just reminds me of that story from the Bible with Job. Yes. You know, that loss of everything that you think is the pinnacle of your life, and then discovering that was just one chapter. Or two chapters. And that's so hard for people to recognize, I think, when they're going through it, when you have a lot. I mean, this last couple years, I think I've lost 20 people, literally.
Yeah.
20 people at least. And I know that, you know, if not for the fact that I, you know, had my near-death experience and stuff, I may have experienced it in a different way, because I know this is just, you know, one chapter. This is a chapter here, and there's so much more. It was still hard to push through the missing of them, you know, missing people.
I mean, you talking about missing people. You had some real key people within a year of each other. Your mother, I mean, your father, then your mother. Like that is, and you just kept going. And I know you were hurting, but it was like, wow, that was so close together. It was like, it's unbelievable.
Well, you know, I think the timing, again, perfect timing, nothing to do with my choices, is that I was working with you guys during this whole time. You guys were with me the entirety of that, because my father's death was sudden, unexpected, boom, done. My mom, you know, she'd been sick for years, but you know, when someone's been sick for almost all the time you've known them, and all of a sudden it dies, it's like a gut punch, because they've been sick your whole life, you know? So, but because I had an outlet to vent, to talk about other things, to distract me from dwelling too long in darkness, I was able to push through all of that, you know, and still pulling it together, you know. But I know how it feels to lose that creative spark, because some people are driven by darkness. Some people right there, like Sylvia Plath and, you know, Edgar Allan Poe, they did some of their best work in their most miserable times. And then other people work better when, you know, they got money in the bank, they know their family's okay, and you know. So, you know.
You were talking about it. So what pulled you out? What were those things you did that pulled you out? Cinda had the outlet. So what was your outlet? What did you do?
I prayed a lot. And that's strange y'all talking, that y'all even brought that up, because I was gonna ask Cinda about that. I had no clue. So I want to first of all offer you my condolences, to the parents that way. I know the struggle. I know. So you definitely have My prayers. I never stopped praying, but I did question God once or twice, like a fool, like the fool that I am, right? I questioned God once or twice. Never really let go of my faith. Like I said, I have my books, I have my faith. I listen to a lot of music. The song, I'll tell you the number one song that carried me for a very, very long time, way back since, is Optimistic by the Sounds of Blackness. That's my number one go-to. To this day, I listened to it this morning. That is the go-to. And music helped a lot of soulful, the Earth, Wind and Fire, my 70s music. I was 70s music, lots of inspirational music. Knowing that in my family had my back, even when I was at my lowest, that keeps me powerful. They never turned their back on me when I was turning my back on myself, so that's always special. I decided to purchase new equipment, I guess. I'm not sure what you call that for a guy. I don't know if that's a midlife crisis or something. I'm not sure what to call it. And I thought that would help, right? Because I got back in touch with a couple of recording artists, started working on some promo stuff for them. So I was like, okay, this looks promising again. So let's buy some new equipment. Bought a new drone, bought a new, still video camera, just to upgrade my quality. And neither one of those relationships blossomed into much more than about 5 or 6 months of some things. We did produce a few projects, but there was no longevity in it. The artist just kind of faded out a little bit. And so I'm stuck with this equipment now, so I have to do something, right? And I'm like I said, I just stay prayed up, man. And I know from, like I said, what I've already made it through with the help of the good Lord and a lot of support from friends and family, and just in myself, because I know me now. I have this one saying at one point. It's like, I know what to do with the money now. You know what I mean? Put me in the game, coach, I'm ready. That's my mentality. And it's a lot more to it, man, but just, I stay, most importantly, prayer gets answered.
So with the prayer, did you have your next thing? I mean, you're here. You even in Minneapolis, you're close to the person with the creative genius. Like, do you feel Prince's presence? Like, yes, I'm gonna go out here and blow up the world. We're gonna. What you creating now? You gotta create.
Yeah, you're right.
Now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'll tell you. Ironically, you mentioned Prince. And I love Prince. Everybody loves Prince. Prince raised us. He's like our uncle. He's like everybody's uncle. So, gotta love Prince, man. He helped pull me through a lot to his music. I listened to lots of Prince. So when Prince died, I was in New Orleans, 2 days from basically returning to Minneapolis. So when I returned to Minneapolis, I was already struck in the gut like everybody else. 2 days later, I'm coming back to Minneapolis, and everything around, it's like a ghost town almost. It was very somber, if you will, very desolate. But anybody that was on the road was playing a Prince song. Windows down, all the way down, blasting the Prince music. Every car had a different Prince song. And the energy was nuts. It was sad at the same time, but it was a beautiful thing. I was able to go over and visit Paisley Park. I didn't go inside. I just visited outside, documented some things, interviewed some people, took tons of pictures. All that stuff is on my Facebook and Instagram pages. So that helped carry me through. I was actually interviewed there by this national magazine. Some guy asked me some questions. which made it to his article. I was surprised, which is I was honored actually. Other than that, Prince, yeah, Prince,
oh God,
yeah, right, yeah, man, Prince was all that, and I want to go back. I want to go back and do more and catch up. It's been a few years, but that also inspired me totally. And since then, man, it's just been doing promos with a couple sports-related outlets and platforms that we produce. One is called the Post Game Chronicles, where I interview former professional athletes or former college student athletes that went pro in something other than sports. And then there's the Off-Season Exposed, where we actually document athletes in their training mode in the off-season, which there is no off-season for that elite potential athletes. So, and that ranges from kids all the way up to the professional ranks, guys that are already in the pros. And I'm also producing segments for an outdoor adventure show called Casting Call TV. So we're doing some things, and I'm making a couple pitches. Shelly, more currently, making a couple of film pitches to a very dear person that we all know, and we're in negotiations with some things, and it's looking promising thus far. So I just have to finish the product, and we'll take it from there, so to speak. And that's where we are.
On that phenomenal note, let's move into our final segment. Kid, you got any crazy, wacky, zany things you want to? He gives us a topic and we just riff on it. What do you got, Kid?
How many of y'all can make a phone call without having to look at your phone?
Oh,
What?
I mean, do you know the numbers?
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
No, I don't know your number. If the phone was, if there was no phone, I wouldn't listen. I'll be in the Only person I could call is Monica. We both had the same number for the last whatever many years. I can call Monica. I know her number backwards and forwards. But nah, that's it.
If I didn't have my phone, I would be lost. The only person I could call was myself. I know my number. I used to have 100 numbers in my head.
Yup.
So the overall question is, has technology made people lazy? Because I'm gonna tell y'all what happened the other day.
Yes.
I left my phone home, and I couldn't call nobody to even come pick me up.
That's cool.
I was working. Good thing that somebody was nice enough to drive me. I couldn't order a lift.
Oh my God.
And Shelly lives like what, 10 minutes from me?
Mm-hmm. And all you had to do was call, right?
But I don't know your number by heart. I don't know nobody's number.
Right.
You know what? No, I do know more than one person. I know everybody's number before, if they had their number before we got all lazy with the thing, like Howard from Urban Expressions, because his number was before. He had the same number when we were back then. So I know his number, 215, da. You know what I mean? If it was before we got lazy. Before we got lazy.
We're lazy. Technology really has made us lazy. Like, we don't do nothing. You can literally sit in your house and order everything.
True that.
You ain't gotta leave your crib for nothing. What you need a car for?
But you know what? No, it's not that easy. I had the hardest time. I called Disco, like when I was coming out of my COVID, I was hungry and I wanted bad food. All I wanted was some bad food. I called Disco. Can you Uber, EV, whatever they are, Uber and them people for me? He like, nah, I don't do it no more. Then I'm trying to figure out how to get food. I'm so used to just calling him to get my food. I'm like, how do you get food? How do you order food? And I'm calling around. Can you do it for me? Can you order some food for me? Ended up, I ordered the food myself. I had no choice. And then they said, you want cash or card? I was like, cash. And then I was like, I don't have any cash. Why did I do that? So I called back and said, can I switch it? They was like, but then we got to cancel it. And then I was like, it took like forever to get one meal. one meal because I didn't know how to do Uber Eats.
No.
Had no clue. I was stuck.
Yeah, that's messed up. I'd be done because the only person's number that I know is in New Orleans. And it's I know actually one's in South Carolina. My two sisters, I don't know very many numbers by heart. So I don't know how well that would help me in that situation. I'd be done. I'd be sick. I don't know anybody local, and I should. I have a brother here, another sister, aunts and uncles, but I can't remember numbers like that.
And forget trying to get anywhere.
Yeah.
I have been to my brother's home at least 20 times. I don't know how I've ever.
You like GPS? Where the GPS at?
I don't know how to get there because I always use navigation.
Right.
And so I listen and I react. I do what it tells me to do. But if you said drive right now to your brother's house, I wouldn't know how to do it.
Wow.
That's so embarrassing.
Man, that's nuts.
Oh my goodness. So what we gonna do? If we know the situation, we see that Disco was out there with no way home. Don't you think we gotta do something? We gotta learn something?
Yeah, I think it's important to learn the main people's numbers. Main people's, or you can do like I do, the real lazy way is I write certain people's number on scraps of paper and keep it in my purse.
Really?
So, yeah. So if anything happens, if my phone shuts down, if it gets wet or whatever, I can just go in my purse and pull out a person's that I need to contact, an emergency contact. I have their numbers on me.
That's nice. That's a good idea.
The smart thing to do would be to memorize it.
But it's not only just TV. It's not only phones, TV, radio. Everything we do is. When the last time you looked at a TV guide? Remember when you had four options, maybe?
TV guide. Who does that? What is that? What is that?
They even still make a TV guide?
No.
They can't be.
I remember they ran TV guide on television for a while, and they'll just scroll up everything else.
Back in the day, if you had HBO, you was rich.
Yeah.
Well, I must have been rich then.
Y'all remember now? I know, Shelly, you're well too young, but y'all remember no microwaves, guys?
Yes.
Our microwave was a pot of water.
Huh?
A microwave back in the day was a pot of water on the stove. You took the plate of food, put aluminum foil over it.
Put the slow way. You had to warm your food up in the stove.
Yeah.
Or on
in the stove or the oven. Yeah.
Well, Grandma doesn't do microwave. Grandma still to this day, she will not put her food in a microwave.
It's not good for you. If you studied up on it, it's really it kills the nutrients in the food. It kills the nutrients. You really shouldn't do it, but that means you gotta like make time to act. Like today we had everybody was like figuring out what we're gonna have for lunch, and we had this spaghetti sauce with no pasta, and it was just sitting in the refrigerator because nobody wanted to make pasta. We couldn't stick it in the microwave and it'd be done. So I made some pasta so I can, have a little spaghetti lunch.
I'm gonna keep it real. I smoke too much marijuana for it not to be a microwave. For real.
I think you need to be remembering somebody's numbers, though. I think you need to be numbers.
Yeah, I think you do.
You remember certain numbers.
That's important. But I tell you, it's hard. It's hard when you haven't used that part of your brain. It's hard. I have tried to memorize my daughter's number so many times, and her number is almost the same as mine. And I still, it's like, it's terrible.
Well,
I'm going down the numbers that I know. I know a few, because I love numbers. So I love so I think I know more numbers because I know every number that we all had back in the day, our home numbers. I remember every number. They're like, "What's the number?" I know this. I know the home number. I know every number from back in the day because I love to remember the numbers. So now I'm going to go on a quest to remember certain numbers. But I know a few numbers. I do.
My sister's like that. Monica, my sister Monica, Augustine, you haven't met her, but she's got a photographic memory.
Really?
And I think it's autodactic. She remembers everything she hears and everything she reads. She remembers.
Really?
She remembers stuff. I don't know nothing. She was like, remember what?
Wow.
You remember what? And I don't remember. She remembers all our phone numbers. She remembers all that stuff because she's got she remembers what she sees and what she hears.
Man, you
Wow.
gotta
I
text
need
me.
that. I wish I had that.
You gotta text me to remind me that you sent me an email. You gotta text me to tell me that you called me.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
You
How
need
much
to
time do you have left,
you
Cinda?
need to put some numbers. You know, how back in the day when they paste the numbers to your drawers or something. You need to do something because you don't want to be out there in these streets and don't know nobody's number.
Yeah. That's not going to help you. You plus it'll start making you nervous, and you don't want to be stuck in the house because you're afraid of stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Earl. Hey, Earl said, I agree with Eddie. Boil water and wrap a plate of food with foil over it. Okay. All right. Well, I think we are to the end. Believe it or not, we have run out of time. So
how much time do you have?
we have enough time for you to tell everybody on here how to find you if they want a filmmaker or any number of things that you do. What about it?
Oh, Pink Panty Confessions.
Yeah.
The book.
I'm a part of the movement. This book is going to help me continue with my therapy.
All right.
So, did you know I purchased it?
Huh?
Did you know I bought it? Did you?
I
Are
did
you
not.
the one that mailed it?
I did not. Thank you so much.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. I just want to drop that and give you your flowers while we're still here and tell everybody out there how down to earth you are. I don't want to give away how we projected what we do, but they'll learn later. I can be found. Is that my question? Is that my out here?
Mm-hmm.
I can be found on Instagram, right, at Garibaldi _creative _group.
So have you gotten into the creative part of Instagram and I mean, like, you're a creative. Have you gotten into the creative part of creating for social media?
Well, yes. Lately, I've started doing just short things, and that's been me gradually getting back into the process. I've been putting up some reels and just feeling how that works, and going back to some previous footage that I have that I've never released. So I'm starting to get my feet wet back with just getting familiar with releasing footage again. And I have a couple ideas on the table right now that I'm gonna, host and do some interviews on with a few people in the near future to bring to the table. But right now, the main focus is finishing 2 screenplays that I have a pitch meeting for. So the sooner we can get those screenplays complete, the more we can move forward with delivering excellent product and content.
Wonderful.
Yes. I guess that's it.
We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and coming and sharing some of your story. And we used to do the show for 2 hours, and sometimes it felt like 2 hours. But sometimes for certain guests, it would have been nice, once we took it down to 1, I missed that 2 hours for certain guests, not all.
Right. Man,
hey,
I wish I could.
Shelly, you got anything you want to share?
Tonight is Keep 'em Up the Block, stand up at the movies. We'll be standing up at the movies doing some urban expression. So that's at the Studio Grill up at 69th Street. So definitely anybody out there, don't forget, go to Studio Grill for Keep 'em Up the Block, stand up at the movies with Petey Crack and Fatim from Kindred Family Soul. So follow him, Keep 'em Up the Block. Follow me at Shelly Shell Williams, and that's what I'll be doing tonight. I'm going back outside. I think I'm free. I think I can go back outside now.
All right.
I hope I'm not contagious. No, I'm just playing.
You done. Kid, what about you?
I got nothing but going outside. You know what? Sunshine is so important.
Yeah, it is.
You need it every day.
Every day.
Very much.
That's why I walk. I've been walking twice a day now. I started walking twice a day because my brother told me he first of all, I don't know how much weight he lost, but he looks like he did when he was 25. He looks fabulous. And I was like, what did you do? Because he was always so bulky. He lost all that. He just down to sculpting, and he was walking 8 miles a day. I was like, okay, I gotta up mine up.
8 miles a day. He
8
walking
miles a day.
8 miles.
I do 5, but now I'm trying to get in 8. So
wow.
I'm trying, not forever, just till I get to where I want to be, and then I'll just take it down to no more than like 3 miles a day.
You do 4 and 4, 4 in the morning, 4 in the evening. Is that how you do it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's how I do it. And what's happening with me this week? I got on my podcast, Lisa Rose is coming on. She was actually a guest last year as a guest counselor. We're going to get into her. She's a school counselor, so she's got some updates about how things are for our children in schools, and her story, which was way more than I expected her to share. So you should check that out on a PPC podcast, on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. Also, if you have not, please check out the PPC Experience, which is now on wherever you can get an Audible book. So Audible, Barnes and Noble, wherever you can listen to Audible is the PPC Experience. And what that is I'm reading from the book, Pink Panty Confessions, and I'm talking more about it. I'm singing in it, and then there's a song that I recorded. It's about 40 minutes long, and it's actually doing very well across the world. I'm so excited. I've been looking at all the numbers, and I didn't know I had so many fans in Africa and in South America. So it's doing very well. So please, if you haven't, check out the PPC Experience on wherever you listen to books. And is that
You mean listen to music?
Yeah, well, it's under book. But it is, like, for instance, you can hear it on Spotify. You can go to Spotify, and it's called the PPC Experience. You can listen to it on Apple. You can listen on, but you can also purchase it from Audible. And so wherever.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So please support. It's fun. Like I said, it's not that long, and it's more explanations. You know, the book is the book, but I get more into where the stories came from and how they came about. So check it out. Yay. I think that's everything. Yes. Got lots going on, you guys. So keep in touch and what's it called? Jump on my Instagram too. Shelly says it all the time. I always forget. At Cinda Will.
Cinda.
Like, Cinda Will.
I'm also on TikTok, and my numbers are really starting to grow. So check out my weekly walks and my walking meditations. Okay, that's enough. All right, y'all. Everybody that joined us out in with their comments, thank you so much. Really appreciate you for being here with us today, and please come back next Wednesday from 2 to 3 Eastern on www.grownfolksradio.com, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me and inviting me.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Bye, Shelly and Disco.